We have another Discord question, and again, if you have any questions that you want me to answer, you can always hop onto my Discord server, or you can email me at billy@julylifecoach.com, or you can leave a comment. But anyway, let's get to the question. When I called my mom, she wouldn't stop cursing me out. My mom has gone through many hardships in life and has had many demons. Any advice on how to behave when my mom and my stepdad are just cursing me out for hours on end? I mean, how should I act? What should I say so that I'm being kind, respectable to my parents, but also acknowledging to them that they are hurting me? So, now I have to first say this is I'm telling you this because I could sugarcoat things, right? I could try to make you feel better about whatever circumstance you're having. But in the end, why I don't like to comfort first is because comfort gives you momentary relief, but it doesn't solve the actual problem. So can it get you to a state of like feeling better enough to, you know, um, attempt to solve the problem? Yeah, sure. That's like I'm saying comfort does have value, right? But I'm much more interested in you having the actual solution to things, actually having the correct kind of vision to solve a specific problem, right? So, with that said, what you have to understand is the idea that they are hurting you. This is what is inviting the suffering. But again, I'm not saying that your parents are doing a good job, right? They're not like, being model parents, they're not being supportive. And, when people cuss you out, it's like really bad. It feels bad, right? Especially if it's your parents. And now, at some level, I do understand how that feels because, Asian parents. And moreover, I think in my generation, regardless of where you were born and raised, I think there was some kind of a level of acceptance when parents were, very punitive, right? So when I was growing up, physical punishment was very common, and I'm sure it may be the case for you too. And verbal abuse was also very, 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 very prominent. You know, it was just all over. It's not just me. It was just all around my neighborhood. All the kids that I talk to have experienced this to some degree, and so then why is the idea that they are hurting you so important? Because when you believe, right, your parents are hurting you, you implicitly have a relationship with your parents that is an attacker, right? Because if I am your lover, right, and I need you to think in the most like simple sense, if I'm abusing you, right, I can't be a lover. I'm an abuser. I'm basically defined by the acts that I do to you, right? So I'm kind of intentionally discrediting the like but I love you so much and I like did blah blah blah. No, like I'm just saying, look at the simple fact of the matter. When I love you, I am your lover, right? When I abuse you, I am your abuser. When I teach you, I am your teacher. So that's the simple relationship, the implicit relationship that you form with people, right? But when your parents are hurting you, right? Then your parents shapeshift into this form of an attacker. But now, think about this. When you have attackers for parents, doesn't it make sense that you would suffer? And that's why it's so important to turn that relationship around so that you define your parents by love. But again, this is really like easily said than done when all the like things are building up, right? Like emotional tension is building up. So now let's talk about that. But again, the core of the problem is your parents I can be upset that your parents are cussing you out. But when you are when you think that your parents are hurting you, it hurts you. Although it seems very nonsensical, when you acknowledge that my parents aren't hurting me at all, they're just going through it with their emotion in life. When you forgive your parents, you feel good, right? I can sympathize with you because I'm somebody outside of your experience, right? And I can try to console you and I can try to comfort you. But the more important thing is you, in terms of your experience in living life. There's a difference in holding resentment and hurt in your heart versus forgiveness and love in your heart. And that difference is night and day. And I would much rather have you love and understanding and compassion in your heart simply because I'm being selfish on your behalf, right? It just feels better. And now, you acknowledge that your mom has gone through many hardships in life and has many demons. So, I remember seeing this like TikTok video, right, about a guy crying at the sudden realization that their mom is just a girl. So, if you're a certain age, what you can start doing is you can start imagining your parents' life at your age, right? So, my parents had me when they were 32. And now I'm well over 32. And I imagine their life having 2 kids. I can't do that, right? I just don't think I have the capacity to do that. But my parents did that for me. And now that gives me this ability to be grateful for them, right? And now, you understand at a cognitive level that your mom has went through many hardships and has many demons. But something that may be missing is actually experiencing, right? Putting yourself in her shoes about how she will feel when she is cursing you out. We as humans are animals who continuously seek optimal status, right? At no point are we trying to intentionally hurt ourselves. At no point are we trying to intentionally do something that is suboptimal. We always have a tendency to do optimal things. So why this is so important is, should your parents know a way to not explode at you, they would have gone that route. But because of all the things that happened in their life, they simply don't know. That option was never available to them. Suppose you know the joys of cooking, and suppose you know the joys of riding a bicycle, and how the breeze is so, it feels so refreshing when you're riding the bike down, and when you're cooking, it feels so good to fix a meal for yourself. And now you look at somebody who can't cook, you look at somebody who can't ride the bike and they're scared, and you can't help but wonder, oh wow, but I remember being like that, but oh gosh, but being able to cook and riding the bike, it feels so good. And the more you like it, the more you want to spread that kind of a good experience, right? But many people, if they're in poverty, if they're in food scarce situations, if they don't have the resources to buy a bike, then that opportunity is just kind of like always kind of distanced away from them because of life circumstances, right? And your mom has gone through such things. Your mom has never had the fortune and the blessing to be in a safe environment where there is no hardship. And she was compassionately held with love. But instead of angels, she has had many demons. Instead of life going good for her, she has had hardships. And when you put yourself in that shoes, right? You have to imagine at what emotional state are people in when they curse? What emotional state are people in when they curse for hours end? What emotional state are people in when they curse for hours end to their own child? This is something that you really, really can benefit from understanding. Because then you will know how much your mom is suffering. And how much your stepdad are suffering. And when you know that, you can understand that, oh, I'm glad my mom and dad I'm glad they at least have me. Because imagine them not being able to vent out, let that steam out to you. They would go about and do it to somebody else who wouldn't be so understanding. You're gonna receive the gunshots and the knives from your mom, and you're just gonna neatly pack it up, and you're gonna just hold them instead of putting it in your body. Instead of and then receiving it and then watching you bleed, you're just gonna calmly collect all the words that your mom and stepdad say, and then you're just gonna pack it up neatly, and you're like, yes. Because again, when you do this, you will feel better. This is for you. This isn't really for your mom, because your mom's life is up to her. Your stepdad's life is up to him. Their happiness is theirs to find. But for you, when you understand that people can only hurt you when you let them, you can understand, oh, wait, I could be hurt by this, or I have the power and the option to not. And that is the power I wish for you to have. So, in summary, how should you act? You just listen, and sometimes you would agree, yeah, mom, I am a bastard, and you know what, I am really stupid. Yeah, I completely understand. Because from her perspective, you are, right? But it doesn't mean that you actually are. I can think you're LeBron James disguised, and you're just pretending to be somebody else on my Discord server. That doesn't make that true, right? I can think anything about you, but it doesn't really necessarily make it true for your life. Unless you decide to believe that, right? So, when you understand, she isn't really talking to you. She isn't really cussing at you. You think that she's cussing at you, but it's actually this image of you. She's talking to this layer that she sees in front of you because she thinks this is you, right? And you understand, when you understand this idea, you can also talk about this. That way, you don't take it personally, because you understand she is saying these things to an internal representation of you, not actually you. And that way, you can hold your mom in peace, right? So you agree with her, and you just understand, and you just, yeah, you're right. And you think of it like a therapy session, and you're just letting her vent over on and on and on and on and on. And understand that this is an outburst. And so outbursts usually happen when people don't listen to you, right? So if you're in a crowd and you want to get your point across, you can say, hey, 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 I'm trying to get your attention. Hey, 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 hello, hello. And then nobody pays attention. And then after a few minutes of this, then you would eventually explode, right? So understand the mechanics of why people do a certain thing. And then you can be the person that prevents that. People have outbursts because they're not listened to. So you provide a listening platform for them. And that is kind of the way that you can reduce your suffering in life. But at the same time, it is truly a regrettable thing that your parents are doing this, right? And for that, I do give you, my support, my emotional support, and then we can talk a lot more about that on Discord. But understand that in the long run, the more you can distance yourself from this problem and just observe that this is a human problem that two human beings are having, that way you can approach it from a different angle that is less personal. Buddha, before his passing, said, there are 4 things that you can do to another person, and it is effectively the same thing as doing that goodwill to me. Because why? Many people did a lot of goodwill to Buddha. They fed Buddha. They gave Buddha shelter. They gave Buddha things that he needs. Because why? Because they respected and honored Buddha, and they got teaching from him that relieved them from suffering, right? So people were worrying that, well, if Buddha dies, then who do we serve? Who do we, do this to get our kind of salvation from our suffering? So Buddha offered 4 things. Number 1, when you feed the hungry, it's the same thing as you feeding me. That's how noble it is. Number 2, when you cure someone who is ill, it's the same thing as you providing service to me. It has the same amount of nobility. The third one is supporting people on the path to enlightenment. Basically, if you are providing support to the monks who are clean in their way, then you are effectively doing the same thing as being noble to me. It's the same kind of nobility. The fourth thing is what I want you to keep in mind. The fourth thing is tending to the poor and tending to the lonely. So understand that Buddha himself said, when you tend to the lonely, like your mom and your stepdad, your act of goodwill and nobility is the same thing as providing service and homage and respect to the Buddha, the awakened one. So I hope that helps, and then I'll see you in the next videos.